Hi, it is Kristen at home, and I am starting a new series this week called the $12 Days of Christmas Meals. This is week 1. I will be doing 4 weeks with different recipes and grocery lists for $12 or less so that you can have a Christmas lunch or supper or brunch for $12 or less. So this week we are at $10.51 for our first Christmas meal. So we are $12 or less at $10.51, and this meal is going to be ham steaks, green beans. This is the Great Value ham steaks that have 2 in here. I will be slicing them in half. This will be enough to feed a family of 4, my family of 4 specifically. I have Blue Bonnet margarine. I typically buy the less expensive margarine. This was only 4 cents difference, but at my Walmart when I was shopping this week, they were out of that one. I have 2 envelopes of the Great Value mashed potatoes. I have a brown gravy mix to make gravy for our mashed potatoes. I also like it on my ham. We have green beans as our side. And then I have a Jiffy Yellow cake mix and a package of Great Value pudding. I'm going to do a poke cake for our dessert for this Christmas meal. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 items that we will be using to make our Christmas meal for $12 or less. So I will be back after I have made these things and do a recap and show you the meal when it's ready to go. I also probably will show you how I am doing this poke cake. Okay, so I just started my oven to preheat at 350 according to the box directions for our cake mix. I have my mixing bowl here. I am going to add in our cake mix. I am going to put in 1/2 cup of cold water. I haven't got my water over here yet, but it also calls for an egg. I did not purchase eggs for this meal because I'm not planning to use them. I did melt 3 tablespoons of margarine, and I am going to put that in place of what it calls for an egg into my cake mix. So 3 tablespoons melted margarine into my Jiffy cake mix. I am going to get my 1/2 cup of cold water and pop in there. Okay, back with my water, 1/2 cup cold water into the cake mix. All mixed up together. And then I have the directions on the box say that you can use an 8 or a 9-inch square or a round. Let's see, what does it say? An 8 or a 9-inch round or an 8-inch square. So I am going to be using my round pan, which is basically, I think, a pie plate style. I took the margarine that I didn't use and set it off to the side, but I'm going to use the wrapper from my first stick of margarine. I'm going to use it to grease my pan. Put it margarine side down. And this is something that my grandma always did. She always saved her butter or her margarine wrappers. And then she would use them to grease the pans. And since I didn't buy cooking oil, and butter is out of the price range for a $12 or under meal, this is what we're using. Okay, that is all greased up, ready to go. I'm going to put my cake mix in here. Just gonna even it all the way out. Can you hear my kitty over there making noises? Okay. So the oven is still preheating, and I am going to wait until that's ready to go. And while I'm waiting for that to be ready to go, I am going to make our mashed potato, our 2 envelopes of Great Value mashed potatoes. As indicated on the label, they just require water. I'm also going to steam my bag of Great Value green beans. They can go in the microwave. I will add a couple of tablespoons of margarine to them after they're heated all the way through. And then I also am going to make the gravy packet as indicated on the directions. It just calls for water. And then after I have the gravy made and put into the bowl that I'll put onto the table, I will cut my ham steaks, my 2 ham steaks in half so that I have 4. And I will actually kind of fry them up in the pan that I made the gravy in. So I will be back after I have that stuff all going, and I also have this cake baked so that I can show you the pudding part of the poke cake recipe. Okay, I am getting ready to divide my ham steaks so that I have 4 total, and I've opened the package and there is some liquid in here, some juice just off of these steaks, and I'm actually going to pour it into the bowl that I'm going to use to put the green beans in after they're done steaming in the microwave. And that will, I'm dumping it in there, that will just give a little bit of ham flavor to the green beans and make them taste really good. I also have a little bit of our Bluebonnet margarine down in the bottom there, that when the beans are done steaming in the microwave, I will put them in there. And typically, if I were making green beans, from buying green beans and then cooking them in the crock pot, I would put them in with bacon. But on a budget, it's a little bit different. So I'm actually gonna cut my ham steaks so that I have 4 right down the middle. And then I'm going to come over here and just do the tiniest slice off of there. I'm gonna dice these up and also throw these in with the green beans. Just for funsies. Just to feel a little bit fancier. Almost like I'm having bacon bits, or pieces of bacon rather, in with my green beans. Don't mind my knife work, it's not pristine. There we go. Toss those in with the green beans. Okay, so I just made the gravy. There is still drippings in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to go ahead and cook our ham steaks in here, and they will pick up the flavor from the gravy that we made in this pan previously, kind of using the ham steaks to deglaze the gravy that's in the bottom there. Okay, so our cake has baked per the directions on the box, and I am using the end of a clean fork, and I'm going to go ahead and just poke holes. All the way around. Put the little pieces back in there. It's because I haven't let this cool. If you let it cool before you poke your holes in, it'll be better for not pulling the end of the cake out. I am going to let that cool while I am making the pudding that we will pour over the top of this. I want this to cool down before I do that. And I'm also going to finish cooking the rest of our food. So this will have time to cool. And I don't want to make the pudding until this is cooled down enough for me to pour it over top, because once you mix it up, you pour it immediately over the top of this. So I will be back once we're ready to do that. Okay, I am back. I am going to make up the pudding for the top of our poke cake. I am putting the pudding packet into a mixing bowl. We are going to make it using 1 1/3 cups. No, sorry, what are we at? 1 3/4 cups cold water. I know it calls for milk, but we don't have milk. I didn't buy milk. I'm not using milk. So I'm going to put that in here. Then I am going to whisk until it is fully mixed. And then I will be right back with the cake for us to pour over top. Okay. I'm going to pour that over top so that it runs down into the holes that we poked in our cake. Try to get all of that in there. over here so you can see. Make sure it runs down into those holes that I poked. Just gonna give it a good shake and a good tap. Make sure it's nice and level. And then I'm going to put this into the fridge to chill until we are ready to eat and everything else is ready to go and we're ready to eat. Okay, here we have our ham, our mashed potatoes, our green beans are back there, our gravy, and our poke cake that has chocolate pudding on top. And that is a Christmas dinner for four for $12 or less. The cake looks a little bit of a mess from wrangling it out of the pan, but I promise it tastes delicious.